Hello, I'm Dr. Von Hoot, and this is a very special episode of Comic Book Addicts. We'll learn many things from the master, Scotty Vaughan, as he interviews a tremendous subject. So, strap in, sit down, and relax, because you're about to have a blast. Smoke bomb!
I love that. Welcome to a brand new, very special Comic Book Addicts. This is episode 73. As you guys probably know, we don't normally do this on a Tuesday night, but this is an awesome special edition of Comic Book Addicts, and I can't wait to bring our special guest out tonight. Not only do we have an awesome special guest tonight on a special night, we got a really cool giveaway going, and I got Cliff from Council of Comics here to hang out with me and co-host. So y'all help me welcome, if I can speak English, Cliff. What's up, man? Welcome.
Buenas tardes y bienvenido a Comic Book Addicts capítulo número 73. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong language. I can speak English tonight. How are you?
Man, I'm great. I'm great. I'm so glad to be doing this tonight. The special Comic Book Addicts. I'm so glad that you agreed to join me tonight. I'm excited, man.
Yo, just the Dr. Von Who intro has made my night already. That was so great.
I love it. I messaged him a couple weeks ago and asked him if he would mind doing a clip next time he was recording. And he's like, yeah, man, I got you. And then he hit me with that 2 days later, and I probably watched it 20 times. And it's so funny. He's such a funny guy. If you guys are not following Dr. Von Hoot, please go check him out. He has a YouTube channel, Dr. Von Hoot's Comics from the Spiral Dimension, I think is the name of it. But if you're not subscribed, go check him out, guys. But how are you, Cliff? You doing all right this evening?
I'm great. I'm excited for our guest. I'm almost glowing, but that's the ring light.
I am too, man. And I'm going to bring him out here. We normally do some intro stuff. I normally do a segment, YouTube polls, and all that stuff. But I'm going to skip all that because like I said, it's a special Comic Book Addict, special night, very special guest, and I can't wait to get him out here. But I did want to mention real quickly for you all that are in the chat, we have a giveaway going on. And I'm giving away these two JonBoy Meyers variant covers, along with the sealed Iron Man Marvel Legend. I think it's one of the newest ones that's dropped, and Spider-Man weather resistant decal. So pretty cool prizes going to one person who puts hashtag Comic Book Addicts in the comments at any time during the live stream. So any of you guys that showed up tonight, any of you guys popping in, put in the hashtag, and you will be. I'm gonna go. I'll hop on Instagram on Friday, and we'll app it. We'll do it on Will app. Do it that way. That way it's fair. But anyways, I hope everybody's doing all right. Let's see who we have in the chat. So we had quite a few people in the chat. We got Las Crucius as usual. First up in the chat saying good morning. Wow, that was 10:51 this morning. What's up, Las Crucius? Thanks for coming out, man. He says hooray and wahoo.
He's a beast.
Yes, Las Crucius is awesome. We also have Chris, the comic vet, who I will be hanging out with on his channel tomorrow for his Show Us What You Got live stream that he does every Wednesday. He says, what up, fam? Love the JonBoy cover for Berserker 1. Yes.
And I'll be there too, if I'm lucky.
Yeah, I hope you are there, man. It's always more fun if you're there, Cliff. Brian LCS says, evening all. What's up, Brian? Thank you for coming out, man. Let's see, skimming through. We got Phil from Phil's Treehouse. He says, if a calorie jogged around the block, would it cease to exist? I don't know.
It would die because it would burn up.
There you go. We got Dr. Von Hoot's Comics from the Spiral Dimension, who did the intro. He says, evening all. What's up, DVH? Thank you for coming out, man. Hope you're doing well over there in England. Let's see. Cliff.
3 a.m.
3 a.m. in England. Is that what time it is over there?
I think so. I'm kind of guessing.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, thank you for joining us, man. Cliff, my awesome co-host. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate you.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here.
We got World at War Comics. My homie, Thomas Hulls, awesome comic book writer, creator. He does the comic book Kingsville. Awesome title. If you've never checked it out, you guys go check it out. It's a really cool title. Rich, Comic Cap Collectibles. He says, yo, hello all. Welcome, Rich. We got Travis, TM Nerdy. He says, hey, Scotty. Hey, Cliffy. What's up, man? Glad you could make it out, dude. We got Josh. Let's see. Okay. We got Josh Brown. His comment disappeared on me. We got Josh Brown saying, hey, Scotty, got a question for you. Seeing as how there's a new Venom movie coming out, therefore, we'll most likely get a new Venom Marvel Legends wave. What 7 figures plus Build-A-Figure would you want to see? I don't know, man. I don't know about 7 figures, but I'd love to see a Toxin. I think it'd be really cool to see a Toxin. And definitely cool to see an upgraded Carnage, of course. And I don't know. There are a lot of symbiotes that could use a good Marvel Legends upgrade. But Toxin.
All I'm hearing is movie figures, and I'm like, no.
Toxin, though. Definitely Toxin. Collecting the dirt.
Not movie Toxin. Do not give me movie Toxin. I do not want it. I don't care what.
No, definitely the comic book version. Collecting with Dirt says, look at all these pimps and legends. What's up, Adam? Thank you for coming out, man.
He's the best.
See, my comic pops, Lorenzo, Indie Comics and Reviews, some of the best comic book reviews on YouTube. If you guys aren't checking out Lorenzo, be sure to go over to Alternative City Comics for some of the best comic book reviews on YouTube. He reads pretty much everything, so go check him out. He's also got the best voice in the game as well. We got Gary Woods, who won my last giveaway. He won the Marvel 3-pack, and I actually threw in an extra one for him. But welcome, Gary, and good luck tonight with the giveaway. I hope you're doing all right this evening. We got Where'd You Get That? Saying hello, all. What's up? Thank you for coming out. And Gary Woods putting in his hashtag Comic Book Addicts. So you were entered, sir. But anyways, enough of me babbling on because we have an awesome guest tonight, like I was saying earlier. Our guest this evening has worked in comics for close to 30 years, establishing himself and becoming one of the biggest names in the industry today, with an indistinguishable style that sets him apart from the rest. He is truly a one-of-a-kind figure and artist in comics. Y'all help me welcome JonBoy Meyers to the live stream.
Hey, that's quite the intro. It's kind of weird, man. It's like I'm very flattered. That's cool, man. Thanks.
You deserve a little flattery. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I never feel like I've never quite felt like I've arrived quite yet, though. You know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean. Literally every day of my life.
Yeah.
But I also know that we need to give people their flowers while they're here. So
yes.
Figure out the middle ground.
Yeah. It's cool to get recognized for the work you're doing. For me, I just always want to keep doing good work. I think that's the only thing that's important to me, and just keep growing and get better and better. Because there's so many guys out there I think who are so amazing, and that I look up to. I still feel like I'm still kind of chasing that greatness, because there's guys that are hugely influential on me, like Joe Madureira and J. Scott Campbell and Michael Goldman and Arthur Adams, and those are the guys in my mind are like those are the superstars, and
I am so glad you said that, because the guy who organizes the new comics every week, Steve at Alterniverse, and he is an artist. He's done some variant covers for Vampirella and for Lady Death, but he's still like trucking along. Like all he's got is a few variants. But his question for you tonight that he asked me to ask you was, who was your first like illustrator inspiration?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, so my very first introduction was through comics was war comics. So like Joe Kubert and Alfredo Alcala.
Oh, only the classics.
Yeah, all the classic stuff. And then my first superhero comic was a Captain America comic, Bicentennial Battle with Cap and Falcon fighting Magneto and the evil Brotherhood of Mutants. So that was drawn by Jack Kirby.
Cool.
I think inked by Mike Royer or Dick Ayers, one of the two guys. So, and I instantly fell in love, because up until that point, I thought like Batman and Spider-Man were like cartoons and toys. It wasn't really on my radar that they were actually comic books. So, but like I always drew, but then style wise, really like when I discovered like anime and stuff like that, I immediately started kind of gravitating towards that. And then getting back into comics, been the heyday of comics with Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and all those guys kind of coming forth like the new guard of artists inspiring people. I got it. I rediscovered comics again and found like Michael Golden or Arthur Adams and Jason Pearson and J. Scott Campbell and Joe Madureira, and all those guys kind of had an anime feel to their work. So I naturally kind of like gravitated to those guys. Those are like my Mount Everest, you know.
Cool.
And they still are, you know. All those guys are amazing.
You know, it's funny because I actually like your work than much more than one of the people you named, but I'm going to keep it to myself.
Oh, no, that's okay. I mean, like I think that's the thing about tastes. You know, people's work speak to us individually in different ways, and that's the power of art. Though some of it really resonates with us, and some of it is like, you know, it's okay, you know. But I mean, I have a very strong respect for anybody who works in comics.
As do I.
Yeah, it's a tremendous amount of work to do month to month, even on covers. You know, the one shot, one kill type illustrations are always kind of tough too. So, but yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Anyway,
thanks for being here.
Absolutely, it's an honor. Yeah,
listen, it is an honor, and people who work in the comic field, it is so much work. And, you know, I really admire it. I do still crap on one or two people once in a while, but they are the exception. And
you know, what's comics without controversy? So it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our irks and quirks. That said, I wanted to share with you how I was introduced to your artwork.
Oh, sure.
I was introduced to your artwork because I was playing the Versus System card game, and all of a sudden, I'm like, I really like this. I was like, look at this Juggernaut, look at this Beetle, look at this Wolverine. And your Nightcrawler. I love your Nightcrawler.
Wow, that's such old work. Well, thank you for sticking with me through the dark years. So
no, they were great. I loved it, and your colors were always vibrant, and the characters, your anime like influence shine, but it was still uniquely you. But it made me a fan to the point where I'm like, look, and I love Power Girl. I love Superman. Like there's a lot of Superman related stuff back here. So like when I saw your Power Girl cover just recently, I was like,
Well, you know, I can't take all credit for that. I had some really great colorists I worked with back then, like Tony Washington and Scott Kester. And then my colorist I work with quite a bit is Ryan Kinnaird. So he's the other half, and he's always great. I've been working with Ryan for like 30 years on stuff, and he's always been he's been a boss, man. He's always helping me out and doing a great job. And I'm glad the work resonates with people, because that's my thing. Is like I want to make sure people are getting their bang for their buck, you know, because comics are expensive, man, you know, and
definitely
$5 for something, you want to make sure at least something is in there that you like, you know, even if it's just a cover, then hey, mission accomplished. But you know, if it's a cover and the interiors, then it's kind of a plus, you know, for sure. Yeah.
And like I was saying in the intro, you've definitely developed an indistinguishable style. I can pick out a JonBoy cover off the rack very easily. You have your own style that sets itself apart, in my opinion. And I'm a cover buyer. I have certain artists who I look for, and you're one of those artists that I've always looked for. And when I see them, I pick them up. Like your Transformers wraparound, like somebody was saying earlier, the Berserker cover you did. So many awesome covers. The Daredevil, you did a cover for Daredevil recently. What If Venom, the She-Hulk.
Right. Yeah.
That was so good. But yeah, I'm picking all those up. I love your style. When did art come into your life? Has it kind of always been a thing throughout your life?
You know, I've been doing my own comics. I can remember as far back as 4 years old. This is right around the Star Wars craze too, and there was a movie called The Black Hole that came out, and I really liked the robots because they shot lasers, unlike like Star Wars where they didn't. You know, they just stood there and got shot. So I would make my own Black Hole comics as a little kid, and the weird thing about that is watching it now as an adult. That movie is so dark, man. It's about like going through a black hole, and then you go through like you actually end up in heaven or hell, and it's really dark and twisted. And as a little kid, you don't know. It's like just robots. Like, oh, give me the robots. Oh, E-Man's here. What's up, buddy?
What's up, E-Man? Welcome.
Yeah. So I've been doing my own comic books since I was 4, and then our neighborhood kids, we'd get together and make our own comic books and sell them for like a quarter, so we can go run and buy another comic book at the comic or at the local store, you know. Which unbeknownst to us, we didn't know how much work goes into making a comic. So we thought that's actually what people got paid to make a comic because we're stupid kids. So yeah, it was. We didn't know. But I'd work like for weeks on a comic book, and then I would sell it for like a quarter or 40 cents and run down to the local base exchange and buy like a G.I. Joe comic or an X-Men comic or something. So I think right around that time, Secret Wars was out. And
oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But even as a kid, though, I knew that when Secret Wars 2 came out, I instantly knew that it sucked. So I didn't pick it up. Thankfully, I was just like, what is this? This looks horrible.
You're like, there's something wrong with this.
There's something wrong with it. Yeah, we just knew instinctively as kids. We're like, this just put it back. Let's put it back. Yeah.
Hey, Beck, welcome. Immortal Biggie Shack, welcome.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, there is. That's popping. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Yeah. Wow, we're representing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, those G.I. Joe covers are always fun to do too. And
oh my god, that Cobra freaking Megatron! Oh my god, dude, you put your foot in it, and I love it.
Cool.
Dr. Von Hoot was asking if any chance you'll ever make it over to the UK. He's over in England.
I would love to. I just I never have much luck flying into Heathrow. For some reason, I always end up in the pull you aside and stick you in a private room pat down aisle.
Oh no, that's never good.
Yeah, it's weird, but maybe I fit a profile. I don't know.
Is it because your birth name is problematic? And we live in that kind of world.
You have problems with Germans? Maybe I don't know. That's kind of interesting, but maybe.
The last thing I would guess is German. You look anything but German.
Well, I'm a mix. So my dad was military, so he's English and German. My mom's French Vietnamese. So it's kind of a weird amalgam. Like we're all mutts at some point. But
listen, my father was a Canadian born in Ottawa. My mother was born in Santurce, Puerto Rico.
Wow, yeah, that's north south. That's very far north, very far south.
Oh, and do you know what's hilarious? So my mom's Puerto Rican, my father was Canadian, and my friend who I do another podcast with, he lives local. His mother was Canadian and father Puerto Rican, and I'm like, oh my god, I've never met anyone else.
So you're kind of like porque, eh? Eh?
Yeah.
And you have to be really nice.
Ay, está tan lindo, eh?
Back to Dr. Von Hoop's question. I've never been invited to any of those shows. So if I were, I would definitely go. I like meeting fans all across the world and just meeting just international fans and talking comics and just kind of enjoying the culture, enjoying the food and stuff like that. So if I ever got an invite, I would definitely go. I think the last international show I did was Dubai. That was pre-COVID. So and that was a really amazing show. Yeah, like a lot of Kuwaiti huge comic book fans, man. Like nobody's business. It was pretty amazing to see. So
pretty hardcore collectors over there.
Yeah, they're super passionate about games and animation. It's kind of weird because like you see so much division in the world, but when I go to these conventions, everybody from like different races and cultures and ethnicities and backgrounds, they all come together for love of the medium, for comics or anime or toys or video games or whatever. Like we're all geeks for that, and it's something that we can all kind of like come in and have shared experiences on. There's no it's not about political lines or ideologies or philosophies or anything like that. It's just kind of like we're there having shared experiences, which I think is a real positive thing. So it's just like fans are, no matter where you are, they're all exactly the same. They're super passionate about what they like, and they represent it, and they're not ashamed of it, and they like to connect with you and talk to you about it. It's pretty like, man, it's like, I would invite you guys to go to like Thought Bubble and experience it. Like, wow, it's just like American cons. Like people are super, super happy about it. It's like, hey, it's like awesome. So yeah, very cool.
I love the cons. Sometimes I love the cons for the socialization more than anything else.
That's the only time I really get to see my friends, like my other artist friends. Like I'll see them for half a second, and then I won't see them for 2 years, and we'll pick up right where we left off. Like, oh, hey.
Yeah, that's how it is with good friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Or even colleagues, just, you know, like we see each other in passing, kind of like, hey, you know, we don't really get out too much because we're always inside working, you know, in our little like protected bubble of creativity, you know, with just our thoughts and our feelings and our, you know, pencil and paper, you know, or iPads or whatever you work on, just trying to make awesome. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of making awesome,
Yeah.
what was your big, what do you consider your big break in the industry? Because when I was doing my research, I found online it said Marvel Age Spider-Man in the early 2000s. Is that correct?
Well, that's my official like big work for like big publishers. My previous work to that was like I did 5 years worth of independent work with a company called Funkatron.
Okay.
And they did like Battle Pope and Brit and a bunch of things. That was Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore's imprint back in the day.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
wow.
So we all used to do shows together coming up, and
that's very cool.
Yeah, and then one of our mutual friends, Val Staples and Matt Tyree, started a comic book company called MB Creations, and they got the license for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And then they hired me to be a marketing director, so I did that for about 2 years, like a year remotely and then a year there. And then I decided to leave and go back to where I was living, and decided to like give it one last push to break into comics professionally. So, and then I submitted some Spider-Man samples, and then I got hired to draw Spider-Man, which was, I'm so grateful and thankful for that, because looking back at that work, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have hired me, but I'm glad somebody did. So,
no, I have some of those Marvel Ages. They were pretty good.
The thing about it is like, Mark Brooks was the main artist on that. I was kind of like the backup guy. And comparing my work to Mark was like, he had a rocket ship strapped to his back. You know what I mean? Like it was just like light years ahead of my stuff.
And it's so funny because I find you two quite comparable at this time.
Oh yeah, like Mark, like we all came up together around the same time. All of us, like, you know, all around the same time. Like Sean Gordon Murphy, Sean Galloway, Kerry Rondell. You know, who else? Sanford Green.
Oh my God, I love Sanford Green.
Yeah, Dustin. All of us were around the same time. Mike Toy, we were all like showing work at the same time, seeing each other at cons and at the after parties, trying to like get in good so we can get a job, you know, and doing everything we can to hustle, you know. Yeah, it's nice to see
that still happens.
Yeah, I mean, I really love to see that everyone's hit like Sanford's got like 2 or 3 Eisners now. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, like his whole trajectory is changed, and it's really nice to see it. Like, I mean, look at Robert, and you know, has like Walking Dead and Invincible and all this stuff, and he's got his own company, and he's got his own movie stuff and everything he's doing now, and I'm really like. It's so surreal. I'm super happy for everybody just to see how everyone's kind of evolved and moved to their own things and changing and becoming these movers and shakers now. So it's kind of weird because it feels like it wasn't too long ago. I mean, it feels like, I mean, I've almost been doing comics for almost 30 years, but it feels like, you know, like 2 years really. Because I can still remember sitting in my chair trying to work on like crappy backups of ink punks and trying to get it done. And then I'm like, I have to get up in 2 hours to go to work, you know? So
that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's like it goes fast, man, before you know it. You know, it's here and gone, and you're like, oh, what happened? It's like, oh, well, you know, like, hey.
And I definitely as we get older, for sure, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, yeah, it goes by fast, man. So like, enjoy it while you got it, man. You know, like whatever you guys are doing and in this moment that you're doing, like really savor the moment, because you know, it goes fast, man. That's for sure. Yeah,
it truly does. I'm like, I had some stuff set aside for you, and I'm like, I cannot find a single thing. I'm like, oh no.
By the way, you guys have the coolest giveaways. Most podcasts don't do giveaways. Like, there's a couple that do. Like, I think E-Man, who's on here, they do giveaways. And
E-Man's awesome. Yeah, shout out E-Man.
And some of the other ones really don't. And it's like,
okay, so like our crazy circle here, like we are obsessed with doing giveaways for some reason.
Oh yeah,
I like giveaways. I think it's fun for engagement.
We enjoy making people happy. I do not know why.
Well, I'm sorry, Cliff. Go ahead, man.
Well, no, it's like that's like a new thing, and like I love it, but sometimes like I'm a little bit annoyed because like I feel pressured because it's just like I'll be at Council of Comics and it'll be like, oh, what are we putting in the giveaway this month? I'm like, oh my god, I got to think about this again.
No, it's fun. I like doing the giveaways related to the guests that we have as well, and it's fun to do themed giveaways and stuff like that as well. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to do.
Yeah. So where are you guys based out of? I'm assuming not the same town, right?
In Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Cliff is based in. Where are you based, Cliff?
New Paltz, New York.
Oh wow. Is that northern New York or?
I mean, a little bit. I'm like an hour and a half from the city at worst.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. That's actually far enough to be like, okay, that's all right. So yeah,
we still have our intruders and interlopers and weekend people. You know,
there is some craziness going on in New York. I shudder to think what New York Comic Con is going to be like this year with all the craziness going around. So.
Listen, New York Comic Con is turning into a shadow of the beast it used to be, and it's so annoying. Literally, I only go now just to see the artist.
It's getting tough. I heard table rates raised. I was reading an article today, but I mean, it's taxes are a lot higher going in, and then of course you have the toll fees. There's everything. You have the unions there too. So when things go up on the toll end, everything else is going to go up exponentially. So it's like,
yep,
it's tough, man. I remember our tickets used to be $15, man, for extra passes. That from New York.
For the professionals, yes.
Yeah, man. Like back in the day, and now
how much would they be this year?
I think $300 or $350 or something. Wow. Like I don't do New York too often because logistically it's already a tough show because the venue is so far away from hotels. So if you can't get a cab or Uber, you're gonna be like huffing it, And like I got all this crap with me on my art supplies. I got to lug every day to and for, back and forth and comics, and it's like, oh man. I know that makes me sound like an old man, but I mean,
no, you're fine. A couple years ago when I went, we were there like first thing in the morning. My buddy and I saw Luciano Vecchio, and I was like, oh my god, you're here! I'm so excited. And he had most of his stuff. Awesome. And I was just like, hey, where's that? Do you have the ash kit? And he's like, half my stuff will be delivered this afternoon. I'm like, okay, I'll see you this afternoon. And then there was a special delivery. I saw boxes going right to his table. And I'm like,
give me one.
Yeah.
Yes. Now you said you've been in the industry for quite a while.
Yeah.
And over the years, what would you say have been like some of the more memorable experiences for you? Like what have been some of the titles that come to mind when you think about your bodies of work over the years?
I try not to think of the work. I just, for me, it's mostly just trying to evolve and get good. Like, I don't want to be the same artist 10 years from now. I want to be better. I want to be doing new things and trying new things and just continuing to evolve. Cause it's kind of like, as people, you don't want to kind of stay the same either. You want to get wiser and better and you want to hone your craft. And I kind of want to do the same thing. But for me, it's been mostly more about seeing my growth as a person and seeing everyone else's growth as people and artists in the industry. Like I talked about, like Sanford and Sean Gordon Murphy and Mark Brooks and all these guys. And we all came up at the same time trying to do the same thing, but we all had the same passion and discipline to stick to it and try to break in and make it happen. And it was, it's a hard slog for a lot of us because like we're talking like maybe 10 years later now, like it took us like really 20 years to try to find our legs. And now this next 10 years is all about building our IPs or our brands or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys now are actually adding their voices to they're actually doing things that change the industry. Like Sanford is with Dave Walker and Chuck Collins. They're bringing more of the kind of like Black comics into more prominence, and like Gordon Murphy's really been a big independent voice.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting to see how everyone's kind of evolving and moving into these next phases of their careers, whether it's on the editorial end or on the more creative end. Because it's like, look at Robert, look how much he's done as far as changing up the industry, him and Tony, creating Walking Dead and everything. And that becoming the juggernaut it is, man. I mean, I remember like Robert, man, we were all piled into the same hotel room. It was like 8 guys in the same hotel room, sharing a room in Chicago all the time. going
Nice.
to Subway just to eat because that's all we can afford, and like talking about like, hey, let's all go to the buffet and try to like eat as much as we can because
Oh no, not the dollar scoop.
Yeah.
Well, no, we would go. There's buffets and stuff. We go and try to eat as much as we could, and like the struggle is real. I remember Robert grabbing all these credit card applications because that's how he was financing his books, is by getting credit cards. I mean, he really put himself out there, man. Like kudos to him. But I mean, it takes that kind of commitment in order to make your career happen. Because I think anything that you want, you have to really give up something. How bad do you want something in order to get it? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up in order to attain that? And there's a certain type of discipline that comes with it. And not everybody has all that type of mentality to do that. Hey, K-Pop's here. Hey, what's up, K-Pop?
Yeah, Katie. Hey, Katie.
Yeah, I just talked to them a couple weeks ago, actually, for the Asian American heritage thing. So
yes.
yeah.
It's
Awesome.
been awesome.
Yeah. So
Welcome, Katie. Well, I love that answer. Yeah, definitely. That's and crap, I forget what I was gonna say.
Oh, that's okay. All right. Feel free to interject too. We can take questions from people too. Like if you guys want to like get something queued up while you guys are getting ready too. Like, is any questions out there? Anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody has any questions to ask, feel free to ask. I did want to ask you, and shout out to my buddy Durs. He's a huge Spawn fan.
Oh, Spawn, yeah.
Oh my God.
Questions for you.
Yeah.
Now you worked on the series from issues 250 through 256. Am I correct?
Yeah, something like that. It was like almost a year and a half of my life. So it was because I drew Spawn Resurrection twice with two different writers.
Okay.
The first one didn't work out, thankfully. The second one is with Paul Jenkins, and that was amazing. I just wish it lasted longer. But yeah, I did quite a bit, and I wish we could have finished that run, at least the first half of the run, because you would have had some really bananas stuff. It would have been like,
What was it like when you're getting ready to do this title that's Todd McFarlane's baby? What was it like when you were getting ready to I guess approach doing work for it?
Sorry.
I was just wondering, like, what were his instructions to you? Did he have any specific instructions?
He didn't have any instructions. There was a time when Todd called me and we were talking. He's like, hey, I was thinking about writers and I'm talking to Grant Morrison. And I'm like, dude, that would be awesome. Grant would do something totally different. He goes, well, what would you feel about that? And I'm like, well, you don't want somebody to come in and do exactly what you would have done. You want someone to do something that's new and fresh, because if we're bringing Al Simmons back, we want it to have a different feel. We don't want it to be a repeat of what happened to him before. We don't want him to be a broken man. We don't want him to be hiding in the shadows. He's like, I'm here, come get me. I'm not scared of anybody, and that's what Paul brought. He got it right away, because the first thing we did was we made Spawn mortal again, and he wasn't burnt up like a weenie. He didn't hide his face. He walked around in public. He's like, bring it. He wasn't scared of anybody, and we were trying to lay the groundwork for kind of like The Incredibles, where we wanted to create like a Spawn family, because we were seeding the unborn child to be like a heaven Spawn. And the idea at some point we were going to make Wanda a new Angela-like character. That was our goal, because we did feel bad about the whole Neil Gaiman thing and him losing Angela. Like, it'd be really great if we actually brought Wanda back as an Angela type character, and they at some point have adventures. It's like a superhero family. They're fighting together, like son, husband, wife, and son. They were like, hey, let's go get him. It would have been a different dynamic for the character, and we were doing things with Dante's 9 Circles of Hell. We talked about doing some Highlander stuff where once he closes off all the portal to heaven and hell. It's all about free will. Then all these other spawns creep up, and it becomes like Highlander, where they're trying to like survive and take each other's power, because then it becomes this whole other thing at this point where we have all these renegade spawns who kind of come out of the woodwork because the gates of heaven and hell are closed. They can show their faces again. They're like, okay, now I don't have to hide anymore, and so it would have been a new different thread. It would have been a lot of stuff, but I mean, the fact that we got as far as we did was cool. And a lot of those threads Todd's actually picking up now, because he's bringing in like Raven Spawn and a bunch of these other spawns and Gunslinger Spawn, which are characters I was like, look, we need to bring these characters back. I like the toys. I love Raven Spawn. We should bring them back. and that was the plan. But I think it all worked out. You know what I mean? Like those characters. I mean, Spawn's stronger than ever now. So
Definitely, it really is. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Spawn universe is huge.
it's 15 titles coming next year, man. I hope you're ready for it. It's like,
Oh my god, 15 titles.
yeah, man,
Wow.
that's a little too much, but
Yeah.
Okay. What Transformer combiner would you want to do for cover? I think I want
That's
to
a good question. That's a good question, E-Man.
I would like to do classic stuff. So like Hot Rod and RC and Springer or something like that would be pretty dope.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Von Hoot wanted to know, typically, how much creative direction do you have on a cover? Do they just give you the character and give you free reign?
No,
That's kind of what I was asking with McFarlane and the Spawn deal.
Todd was great creatively as far as vision, because he let me do whatever I wanted to do. That's why I gave Spawn the mouth. I really wanted to do that. I wanted to make my mark on the character.
And the sword, the big ass sword.
Yeah, the God sword. I did that as well. But I can't take all credit for that because that was the original writer was Brian Wood on the Spawn Resurrection, and we wanted to give him a sword. We talked about an axe and things like that, and I kind of got like, well, a sword would be awesome, a big, thick, like just crude sword with a hook on the end. Something like it's a blunt force object of just raw steel. But Todd was great. I think though, like a lot of it's branding now. It's very top down. I think comics would probably benefit if editors and corporations would dial it back a little bit, and the editors would work with the creative teams on creating a unique vision and letting them run with it. And I would probably stop crossovers. I would actually do maybe one giant event every 2 years. I would concentrate on rebuilding the reader base, making them reader friendly, single issue friendly, and let the teams kind of coalesce around characters again. And then I would tie it into like every 2 years, maybe one major event. Because the fact that you have Daredevil in space or Spider-Man in space makes no sense to me. It's like, why? Like why am I here? Like I shoot a web, gravity affects it. Oh, okay, I'm gonna stick to walls. Well, we're all floating in space. So it's like, what am I gonna do?
You can still throw a punch.
Well, the thing about it is like, they're street level characters and their world makes sense. And sometimes when you bring them these things that are a little out of their element, it kind of destroys the relatability of characters sometimes. You know what I mean? Like
No, I agree, but I'm gonna blame Spidey in space on Venom.
well, that's the thing though. Technically, Venom came from space to Earth, so it's not really space. So it's all these kind of weird little things here. So I mean, those are my bugaboos. Like if I were doing things, but those decisions are made way above my pay grade. But I think comics kind of need to get back to their roots as far as less political, no agendas, make cool characters for cool characters. You don't have to, characters don't have to be gender swapped or anything like that. Like I think just make really cool characters and diverse characters and make those characters cool. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like make characters, not for like it's checking a box, because then a lot of people it's just checking a box. Like you could swap that character out for any other character and it doesn't matter. And for me in comics, the characters you introduce should have impact and matter. Like they should add something. They should add value to it, not just like it's just this thing. You know what I mean? Because then it becomes cheap. It's just a thing. And the thing about it is what makes comics good is that you make characters relatable, but then relatable to the story and the story you're trying to tell. So story number one is always the most important. It's like, what's the point? At the end of the day, do you want these characters change or stay the same? And for me, I think every 10 years you should probably reboot titles just for some back. Like, because for me, in my mind, there should be a Told to Be Batman. Like I said with Todd, like I wanted to chop Spawn's arm off, and like as he goes through the series, because he's human again, his body gets slowly replaced by like demon parts because the cape makes him parts. Like he loses an eye, he has a demon eye, he has a demon arm. These things, because there's a cost to being a hero and doing what you're doing. Because I think the hero's journey is always about sacrifice and how far are you willing to go to do what you need to do. And being Batman, that would mean a lot. I mean, they just now chopped off his hand, right? So, that was quote unquote a big deal. But like there should be consequences to being a hero. Like back in the day, like, you know, dead was dead. Like, you know, Spider-Man lost Gwen Stacy because of him being a hero, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what makes these things so important. Like Cap lost Bucky, even though Winter Soldier's awesome character, but it's kind of like, you know, I kind of wish dead would stay dead, you know?
I got to give DC credit for one thing. They have kept Alfred dead, shockingly.
Right.
You know? I mean, sure, Batman is now the greatest villain of the DCU, but still, Alfred, they kept him dead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think they killed the wrong character. I think letting the Joker find out who Batman is was a mistake, and killing Bruce Wayne's surrogate father was a mistake too, because like Alfred. So Batman's moral center is Alfred when you think about it, because that is his lens, that is his Jiminy Cricket, you know, and that is the Alfred character represents the everyman, the father figure in that book that's always kind of guiding Bruce and appealing to his better, higher natures. Every time Bruce gets cynical, you know, Alfred is there to kind of like pull him back, like, hey, you know, kind of reel him back in, like, hey, you know, people aren't so bad. Look what these guys did, or whatever. So, you know,
I can't believe I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't even enjoy Batman. What? But to the point of killing Alfred off, everything happening since 2019 to now is the ramifications of Batman without Alfred. The only person recently focused on trying to maintain Bruce's humanity in all the Zur-En-Arrh madness and stuff has been Tim Drake, which actually makes sense because, you know, A Lonely Place of Dying, right. Tim Drake that was like, you need a Robin. Like, so I love that Tim is Robin always. Again, not perfect. But at least they did what they did, and it is following a course. It's got an arc. It affects everybody. You know, there's the dedicated statue of Alfred in Bloodhaven, thanks to Dick Grayson. So, like, I mean, I'm not crazy about it. I agree with what you said, but at least the writers are not wasting the opportunity.
The boner jams,
right? Yeah, I just wish, like, you don't know how much of that, like, let's kill Alfred was the writer's idea, or if that was like editorial or management above them's idea. Like, you just never know, like, being in those conversations. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I'm always, I don't think, I would like to think that no creative team would actually want to do that. It would be more of like finding opponents who would actually challenge Batman Bruce in different ways, you know, because like in my mind, like him fighting Ra's al Ghul, he would never beat Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul's been alive for thousands of years. The knowledge and experience and fighting skills that guy has, there'd be no way. Like this, it just in my mind, there'd be like, you know, somewhere in my mind, there's a council of immortals that actually sits on this throne that kind of guides new heroes because they're trying to train their replacements. You know what I mean? If something does happen to them.
They have the quintessence. The quintessence is like, I don't like where this is going. This is looking a little too Kingdom Come.
Yeah, I don't even know what the quintessence is, but yeah.
We got a question here from
Zeus, Ganthet, Zeus.
Oh, yeah, right. That's right.
Oh my God, Phantom Stranger. I can't remember the others, but it was like the first time we meet the quintessence is in Kingdom Come. Right?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
The very next time we meet the quintessence, they're like, "Did you see what happened in that alternate universe?" Like, they were like, "We don't want this." But there's some interesting things. I will say this: you said something earlier that echoes something I talk about all the time, and editors are not editors anymore, and it makes me crazy, right? When
brand managers, really, yeah.
Right. I interviewed Bob McLeod with Velvet Joker a few months ago. Bob McLeod talked about how amazing Louise Simonson was as an editor, you know, and how important that was to the success of New Mutants, you know. I don't hear stories like that anymore, you know, or even with Alpha Flight, Scott Liddell was like, oh man, my editor was like so encouraging and so influential when we handled the whole story arc for North Star. She's like, yeah, let's just do it. So it's interesting that era seems to just be over, you know?
Yeah, it's very top down. Like a lot of these kids come in with English degrees or screenwriting stuff, and they want to be writers, but then they're kind of thrust into these brand manager positions, and that's kind of all they know. And not to downgrade them, but I'm just saying there was a lot of good knowledge and experience that was lost after all these layoffs at DC and stuff. There's just not enough people. Like, the last great editor I worked with was Ben Abernathy, who was one of my old editors at Wildstorm, and now he's over at Skybound. But he was one of the last senior guys who were of the old guard that I knew. Most of those other guys, they retired, and a lot of the replacements are very young and not. It just feels like there's something missing. The mentality is a lot different, but it could be that top-down mentality for management too.
I'm absolutely 1,000% sure the top-down is affecting it, but also I feel like they did not do a good handoff from old guard to new guard, right? Which I think happened organically in the past, and now just I don't know where that is. And there's a whole lot of things that they're trying to do right, but they're going about it all wrong.
Right. Yeah. I think so.
We got some questions from the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, we got some questions from the chat here. Got to catch up on that. Dr. Von Hoot wanted to know what your favorite, or what was your first concert, worst concert, and what was your best concert?
First concert was TLC.
Ooh.
Back in the day. Worst concert was TLC.
No.
Well, okay. When you compare it to all the other concerts I've gone to,
okay. Well, if that's going to be the case, that's fine.
Yeah. Best concert was probably Linkin Park Hollywood Bowl. Was pretty amazing.
Love Linkin Park.
A lot of the ones I've seen in the last couple of years, Gorillaz with Nerd opening for them was pretty amazing.
That would be cool.
9 Inch Nails was freaking amazing.
9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, and I just saw Thievery Corporation last week, so they were great too. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, TM Nerdy wanted to know, what comic book character would you love to draw that you haven't gotten the opportunity to draw yet?
Captain America was my first superhero that I got introduced, so there's a special place in my heart for Cap. I just never really had a chance to get to draw him, so. And I think everyone who writes Cap now just really does it really wrong. It's just they don't get the character at all. And it's just man.
What? J. Michael Straczynski's Captain America run isn't living up to our expectations? Oh, no.
No, it's not very good. Like everyone who's written Cap in the last 10 years, the only one who actually got it was Rick Remender. He's done a really good job. Cap at his heart is an idealist, and Cap at his heart is somebody who believes the best in people no matter what. And he's somebody who will constantly go to the line no matter what. I think that's kind of lost. He's kind of a jaded kind of. They write him as a dated character now, and you don't have to write him as a dated character. You have to write him as someone who has a higher. What's the word I'm looking for? He has a higher standard for things, and a higher standard for himself and for people, and he's always trying to appeal to people's better sides all the time. That doesn't happen in comics now. It's more of a, it's two kids playing with action figures. It's really weird. So,
okay. Well, Chris, the comic vet, wanted to know what your con schedule looks like for the remainder of 2024.
I've got Boston Fan Expo next week, and then 2 weeks after that, I have Fan Expo Denver. Then about a week and a half after that, I have San Diego Comic-Con. Then I have Fan Expo Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me. And then I have, I have Toronto. And then, I don't know, I might be doing LA Comic-Con. I'm not sure in October. But then in November, I've got Fan Expo San Francisco, which I usually run into E-Man and the crew there. So it's always nice to see those guys.
Hooray.
Shout out E-Man. Yeah. Have a good dinner, man. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like you got a busy schedule ahead of you. It sounds like you got some really cool shows ahead of you as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris is up in Canada, so maybe you'll see Chris the comic vet at one of these.
If he's
at
coming
the Montreal.
Are you doing Fan Expo Canada?
Yeah. I've already been. Fan Expo Canada, which is the Toronto show, I believe. Yes.
Oh, Toronto. Okay.
it's strong.
No, Chris would hit that. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a great show. Really, it's huge. I mean, it's like freakishly huge. It's in 2 large venues. It's bananas. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've had some questions about what you like to draw. I want to know, who's your favorite oddball character to draw?
Yes.
Oddball character.
Great question.
Yeah, like a Plastic Man or an Ambush Bug or Nort. Like, who's your favorite oddball? Freakazoid. Like who? Like
a good
I don't know if I had a favorite, but I mean, I did get to do a couple of Suicide Squad covers with the Ambush Bug. But my only regret was I couldn't go as zany as I wanted to, because like DC has this weird no guns on the cover thing, and they're like,
or a book called Suicide Squad,
right?
Makes sense.
It's weird, right? Because it's like, well, it is Suicide Squad, like, and and I wanted to do all kinds of zany things, and it's kind of weird because I didn't get to do them, but then like a year later, I'm seeing Peacemaker covers with cover ideas that I was pitching. I was like, well, what the fuck, guys? Like, come on,
super graphic covers too, like really bloody graphic covers.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it was weird. It was very strange. Oh, Kickstarter. Yeah, K-pop was asking me. I'm still working on it. I got to launch it.
Love it. Great question.
What's
the Kickstarter about? Tell us about that.
I am doing a volume 1 Kickstarter. I did a volume 2 like in 2019, so I'm doing a volume 1, which makes no sense. But I put a volume 1 out like 15 years ago, and it only did like 500 copies. So I did a volume 2, and I should have just not called it any volume any. I said sketchbook 1, but I should have. But anyway, people are always like, it used to be a lot. Now it's kind of tapered off, but I get like maybe once a month or twice a month. Where's volume 1? Where can I buy volume 1? So I'm working with my agent. We're putting together volume 1, and I gotta do my Kickstarter. I have to finish photoshopping all the tiers together. You put the stuff so you can see all the cool stuff you get, and like this tier and that tier. I've just been really busy with shows and stuff, and I just did a huge book launch for my own Transformers cover, Transformers 7, that launched at Dallas.
Yes,
yeah,
that's awesome.
That thing was bananas. But I've been fulfilling orders since I got back, because I literally did 60 orders today. So so I have to okay, and I got to do more tomorrow, and then I have to get ready for this Boston show, and I'm like, I got remarks to do too, and I'm like, what are we gonna do? So yeah.
You absolutely the Transformers issue 4 wraparound that you did, that cover was amazing. I love that cover.
Thanks. So originally that was supposed to be number 1, and that was supposed to be a foil, but you can't do a wraparound.
That would have been so good in foil,
right? But you can't do a wraparound foil because foil will crack. Like, you can't do it. They're like, what are we gonna do with this issue? So they're like, well, I don't know. We'll put it on issue 4. I'm like, it's so random, but. Yeah, it was that moment. I'm surprised no one ever has done that cover pose more often, but because it's such a pivotal moment of my childhood. But I was like, oh, well, no one's gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Here you go. So yeah,
that's a cool little fact that I didn't know about. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah. It's sad that I was like, oh man, I could have been in number 1. Like, yeah, but you gotta make it wraparound. I was like, yeah, but wraparound looks cool because you don't want to squeeze. It'd be a tiny Prime figure, or his gun would be cut off. Like, who wants that, right?
True.
It's super lame. You're like, I don't want to do that. So
now, when it comes to your work, are you super critical of your own work? Like, how do you know when you're done with something? Like, how do you know?
I think you got to have your own bar as quality standard that you want to hit, and you always want to kind of consistently hit that. And for me, I'm always like, the work that I do, I try to pull back and compare to like, hey, is this in the same orbit as my heroes? Like, is this the same orbit as a Joe Madureira or Arthur Adams or J. Scott Campbell cover? Am I in the same orbit? Is it close? And if it's not, then I'll like, okay, well, I'll stop and I'll just redo it and start over. Because for me, I want quality. I want to do a good job. I want to try to elevate stuff. I want, it's got to look good and it's got to look right. I don't like mailing things in. Very often do I get stuff where it just has to go out the door, and it's like nothing but a bowl full of regret. And you don't want to have that. You want everything to count, to look good, because if not, that's like that one cover that I hate. Everyone's gonna bring up to me at a show and get it signed. I'm just like, I freaking hate staring at it.
I don't want to look at that.
I get enough work in my closet that I hate. Like all my old stuff, I hate it. It's just, I hate looking at it. I can't look at it. it's like running into an ex-girlfriend. You're like, oh, hey,
I'm not gonna bring you my Nightcrawler. Oh my goodness.
No. I mean, that's cool. No. If you, as long as you guys like it. I think for me though, when I'm seeing it, I'm just like, I go back to like, oh man, like in my mind, what I wanted to do for that was much more epic than what kind of turned out on paper. You know.
What's your?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you what's your favorite stuff to see at a convention? Like what's the stuff that people bring up to you and you're like, oh man, that's awesome.
Honestly, it's just how excited people are to like, you know, share their favorite cover that I've done or something, or talk about their favorite comic book with me or something like that. Like,
okay.
My favorite part of convention is actually just meeting people and also meeting kids because, you know, if we don't have kids picking up comics, then it kind of dies with us. You know what I mean?
Very
so
true.
like, if someone brings your kid, I'm like, hey, here's a free print for your kid. Hey, you know, keep them going on comics. Give them some comics to read because you know we got to keep this train going. You know, we're in a shrinking market right now. So, you know, desperate times, desperate measures. You know, it just shows you that publishing, they are not really thinking about ways to reach a new audience. They're more of like, let's try to find a way to keep an older audience, but that audience is going to age out. And when that does, what are you going to do? It's like, you know, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know about the rest of us. I was like, does that audience aged out? Do you think so? Like, I'm like, all I see is the old folk buying comics and a couple of youngins. It's like, oh, look, this guy's a barber in his late 20s. This is amazing.
Well, you want to kind of keep it going. You know what I mean? Like try to pay it forward because comics are a great medium. I mean, I learned how to read by reading comics. You know, I learned values of good and evil by reading comics. You know, they were hugely influential on me, and I would hate to see that medium kind of like go the way of the dodo and just disappear. You know, it's
of course, yeah,
it would be a sad day.
It would be. It's bad enough we have comic shops closing left and right, and yeah, man, that would be really sad.
It just means some of the content that the major publishers are putting out is not very good. They're not doing enough to promote and reach out a new audience. You're just selling to the same people. You can't. Okay. That's not a good business model. Like the point of publishing in business is to reach the masses, and you're not. You're reaching a niche market. So you have to look at yourself and take some responsibility if you're a leader in those companies and say, look, what do we need to do that's different and better? And it's not putting out a Webtoons comic. You know what I mean? That doesn't, again, that's checking a box like that. It's not the same thing. It's like, that does not count. Like, you know, there's all these things you could do. It seemed like they were more prior to them being bought out, all these comic book companies being bought out by larger conglomerates. You know, if they weren't, I think on all the money that was generated, like the $3 billion that was made in comics would stay with the companies. Yeah. And they can actually do more and things would be better. But the fact that they're owned by larger entities is our problem, probably. I think.
It's all Marvel's fault because when Paul Levitz was in charge of DC, he was quoted saying, I never want Warner Brothers to realize that we are here. Right? Or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing him improperly. But it's like, I don't want them to know that like they own us and they're just sitting on top of us. But then Marvel exploded, Disney bought them, and Warner Brothers like, oh, we have DC Comics. It's just sitting here. We should go and do this. And now here we are.
Right. Yeah.
Let me spin I've had a long day. I'm sorry. Let me spin a more positive note.
No. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask. What was the best piece of criticism you received in your career?
Oh, that's a good one.
That I should quit.
Right, but tell me how that went.
Oh, wow.
Well,
yeah.
The thing about it is like people will always pass judgments on you and try to I don't know. I don't know what people's intent. Sometimes it's just to hurt or stick at the kids or I don't know. But like, it's not in me to quit, and it's not in me to like for me. I take that as a challenge because it's like I use that as fuel. You know.
Yes.
So I think it's just, you know, again, it goes back to like how bad, what are you willing to give up in order to get what you want? How bad do you want it? How hard are you willing to work? What are you going to do to achieve what you want to achieve? you know, and I had a lot of twists and turns in my career. I'm actually like 10 years behind everybody else, you know? So I'm still playing catch up. So I just feel like now my work is getting interesting. So I can't wait to see what it's going to look like in another 10 years. Hopefully it'll look even cooler or better or something. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's been looking pretty great. You've put out some very lovely colors. I love one of the Miles incentive covers that you did was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it that you're a believer in every kick is a boost.
I think so. You have to take it like that because it's like, you know, what people's opinion of me is none of my business. The only opinion that should really matter for me or for anybody is the opinion that you have of yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, you're only responsible for you. You can only, you know, if you want things to change, you have to change, right? That's the only way it happens. So, you know, what are you going to do to make that happen for yourself? You know, because you can't blame anybody else for where you are at life or where your career is at or what's going on, because the only person you can blame is you. You can't blame someone else. Like, well, you know, people have different breaks. That's just that's life. That's how it is. But the thing about it is you got to be so good that they can't ignore you, you know?
I like that.
Because the comics are decentralized too. You don't need to work for Marvel or DC to put out your own content or to get noticed. Like Rick and Morty started out as a Doc and Marty, like bootleg animations done on YouTube, you know?
Okay.
You know, and it grew into its own thing, and now it's a cottage industry, like it's its own like juggernaut. So, like, you know, there is a thing about like the idea of like not eating shit and saying, you know, I'm going to make something of myself. I can do this. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to make it happen, and you can as long as you believe it and you stick to it. You know, you can do anything you want to do. You just have to believe that you can. You know, and you got to work for it too. Belief is not enough. I mean, you got to be disciplined and dedicated. You have to do it. It's like going to, you got to do it even when you don't want to do it, you know?
One of the inspirational posters I have at the clinic is the plans may change, but the goal should not.
Right. Yeah. Like, okay, well, I learned one way not to be successful. You want to fail up for sure. Like, you know, you just want to keep, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is you got to learn from your mistakes, and you don't want to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. It's kind of like, you know, being stuck in bad relationships. You always blame somebody else, but the only constant in that relationship is you. And you keep picking the same people. So you got to say, well, maybe the problem is not them, it's me. So maybe I need to look at that. And kind of like,
I understand that deeply. Yeah. Hashtag DC Marvel Stockholm Syndrome. And
well, that kind of leads me to my next question. What's some advice that you, because we have a lot of artists that watch this live stream. What's some advice that you would give to an artist out there that has dreams of hopefully doing comic books one day?
Well, I think dreams and aspirations are one thing. It's like, it's more about like really thinking about what you want to do in life. And sorry to be so serious, because these are kind of serious questions. So I love it. I think, you know, you can't live your life according to someone else's dogma. Right. And what I mean by that is you can't let other people make decisions for your life. You know, you're unique. You know what you want. You know what makes you happy, you know, and living life is doing like the things that you're uniquely born to do, like things that you love, your passions and things like that. Like, you know, and dedicating yourself to that to see how far you can take it and where you can go with it, you know? You know, because many people get lured into like finding a job that makes a lot of money, but you know, you can't take it with you, man. Like how many seasons do you get in your life? Because we take these things for granted all the time. You know, how many winners do you actually have? 50, 100, if you're lucky, maybe 65, 75. So, you know, stop living your life like you got a million years to live, man. Really think about what you want to do with your life and what do you want to be doing, and make those decisions and work towards that goal, and don't let anybody stop you, and write down what you want to do and what you're willing to do in order to attain that, because there is a price for success. There's a price for becoming that thing that you want to become. It's kind of like Batman. There's a price to being Batman, to dedicate yourself to an ideal, if that makes it easier to wrap your mind around. What are you willing to do, and how hard are you willing to work to achieve that goal? And the thing about it is like when you achieve your goals and you're doing things you love, like you're really fulfilled, and the money will come, man. Like, look, like money is there. You just got to know how to call it. But if you're working for things and doing it for the wrong reasons, man, you're gonna be a miserable person. Like, the attainment of money. I've got friends who make lots of money, but it's not getting the money for them that gets them going. It's creating ways to generate that money and to attain the money. Like, it's those things that you do to make it that make them fulfilled. And the money is the byproduct of doing those things that make them happy. And it's the same thing with anybody else. So if you're an artist or a writer or whatever thing that you want to be in this life, treat it like a sport, and when I say treat it like a sport is like, if Michael, if you want to be the next Michael Jordan, train like Michael Jordan. What did Michael Jordan do? And if you're not as talented as Michael Jordan, talent only gets you so far. It's really about how hard you work. You got to be the hardest working person in the room, because talent only gets you in your foot in the door. It's how hard your work ethic is and how you hustle that's going to keep you there. And if you don't have it, you're not going to last. And you got to treat it like a sport. Like, if you want to break into comics, look, I had a regular job. I worked construction. I worked anywhere from 8 to 12-hour days in the busy season. I'd come in and draw for like 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6, doing short stories published through Funkatron. I'd go to sleep at 2, get up at 6, have breakfast, and go to work, and then do it all over again the next day. Like, I was really serious and committed to it, because that's something that's important to me. That's a goal that I want to attain. And the thing about it is, you can't look at yourself. If you're not seeing things happen for yourself, you just got to stick with it, because it takes you sometimes a lot longer to learn things and to get good. It took me 20 years to come to a level where I think my work is finally actually pretty decent. You know what I mean? Where I'm happy with it. Like, oh, this doesn't make me puke when I look at it. Like, okay, cool. So anything's attainable. It's just more about what are you willing to do to make that happen? And that's what I would impart on anybody for whatever vocation you want to do. Be serious about it. And the thing about it is, if you're a high school student and you want to be an artist, dude, no one gives a shit about math. No 2 + 2. That's great. Have that. Understand how money works. Cool. Good idea. But you don't need to learn calculus if you know that your lot in life is to be an animator or an artist or a writer. Focus on those classes that help you align to your goals and what you want to do, because that's where your passions are. That's where your passions usually lie with your talents. Usually, because anybody can say, well, I really only want to be a comic book artist, but you've never drawn anything in your life. I mean, I still don't like my art either, man. It's like, I like it more now than I did, but it's like, it's still a work in progress. But I mean, you gotta we're all works in progress, but you gotta really kind of live the life that you want, because you're responsible for yourself in the end. No one else is. You're not responsible for anybody else. Everyone can make up their own minds and do what they want to do. And it's really up to you, what you want to do with your life, because it's your life. So figure out what it is that you want and go for it. Don't make apologies for doing it. Just do it.
I love it. I think that's great. Yeah, that's absolutely great. I feel like that's a pretty good place to wrap it up at, on a good positive note.
Cool. Right on.
And JonBoy, I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It's really been a pleasure. Where can people find you? People that are watching, how can people keep up with you? You got JonBoyMeyers.com. You got the website.
Yeah.
But what are some other ways that people can stay up to date on
I have a Facebook
and everything that you have?
Yeah, Facebook page, Art of JonBoy Meyers, and then JonBoy Meyers on Facebook. So I have 2 pages, and then I have Instagram, JonBoy007007, and I'm also on Kara, which is a new social media platform, and that's JonBoy Meyers. You can find me there. But if you guys are coming to a show, hopefully I can meet you guys in person, shake your hand, and give you a high five, maybe a fist bump or a hug or something like that. When I see you guys at a show, it'd be really nice to sit and chat, talk comics, or grab a drink or something.
We got to see what your Northeast schedule is working out to look like this year. There's no excuse for you not to go to Toronto, man. Clef, I'm just putting that out there. Do you know how far that is for me?
Yeah.
It's closer than Tennessee. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. He's a separate problem.
So, yeah, hopefully I can do a couple of Midwest shows or something, maybe somewhere close. And because I'm not doing New York this year, but
that's okay. If you're going to be anywhere near Tennessee, I hope somebody has a place for me to sleep, and we'll see how that goes.
I got the comic room for you, Cliff. There's an open
you
invitation.
got Heroes this weekend in North Carolina. Are you doing that, Scott?
I'm not. I'm depressed about it.
Yeah, most of my friends are going to be there, and I have to just be jealous this year. But I can't make it.
Oh, there's Motor City. I've never been. I think I would go to Motor City if I got invited, but
Motor City.
I don't know what the etiquette is. Like, you just email people like, "Hey, I'm this artist. Will you invite me to your show?" Like,
yes, just do it. They are so weird, and I just don't care anymore.
That feels like douchebaggery. I can't. I feel weird.
Oh no, I know it does.
I can see
like,
that.
You could just be like, "Hey, I'm planning out my con schedule. I see that you have these dates open. If you're interested in having me." And just try. Sometimes it works. I know people who've put themselves out there, and they're like,
"Yeah, that's true."
And they're like, "Oh, but do you have a new book out?" And they're like, "Well, no, I don't have a book out right now." "Well, let us know when you have a book." And so I told my friend, I was like, "Girl, you better get that new book together." And she's like, "Oh, what's it gonna be?" I was like, "How about your artwork and the stuff from your grandfather that you didn't finish in volume 1? Do that." So like sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I just don't want to come off like one of those like.
Sometimes you need a cheerleader like me to just be there, be like, "I'll call them. I'll call them."
You always hope like people are kind of in touch with like, oh, who would be cool to get out here? Like, oh, bring this guy. That would be kind of cool. Like, I'd rather it happen organically like that, and then be like, "Hey, I like the girl," but because
all right, fine. I'm gonna start busting my butt to get you out to Connecticut next year. That way you can that can be my Northeast one for you.
Is that a pretty good show or?
Terrific Con is terrific. This year we got Bob McLeod, we got Jim Lee, we got we got Chris Claremont, we got Jerry Ordway, we got oh my god, the list is like 17 pages.
That is a pretty good list so far, yeah.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And already people like the Jim Lee like pre-sale already is selling out left and right. Just for the Jim Lee Chris Claremont pre-sale is out of control.
Is it pre-sale for what? Like an autograph or
an autograph, sketch, etc. So like but of course one of the pre-sales is Jim and Chris. So I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be a hot show."
That would be that's for next year, right?
That's this August.
Oh, it's in August. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So I gotta start pushing Mitch. Mitch organizes the show entirely alone.
Oh wow.
He has no staff. He walks the whole show up and down, nonstop, almost all day. He will only stop to make sure that panels are running smoothly, and occasionally he'll stop at one of the panels. And the rest of the time, he's just making sure everybody's in place, everybody's okay. He has no staffing whatsoever. It is just him. But he's a great guy, so I will definitely drop little bombs. I was like, who we need to get out here?
You're like, I don't know, man. He just covers like. But I'd rather honestly, I would love to go just to see Chris Claremont because I did a miniseries with him years and years ago. I know that he hated the art, but it'd still be nice to meet him. So,
some of y'all have some sad horror stories.
No, they're not sad horror stories. It's like I don't take it personally. Like, hey, you know what? Like,
you are a champ. You are a champ.
Absolutely.
I met a dude that John Byrne hated his inks, and he's like, I respect him so much. He's so great. I was like, you are so much of a better person than me.
I mean, these are guys that we grew up with their work and we idealize. I mean, here's the thing: you can love the work and not like the person too. That's okay too. Like you like their art, but they're a total like hot mess or a crappy human being, but the work that they've done resonates with you. But who they are is
I don't want to say that some people's art went down a few notches after I met them, but I'm just gonna imply it with my eyes.
You don't even have to say the name. You don't even have to say the name, Cliff.
Okay. Say the name, but you're great.
Thanks, man. Okay, well that's all that matters. Then that's good. Yeah. The bullet there. So, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, like you always got to remember, we're all human and we all screw up, and everyone makes mistakes or puts their foot in their mouth, and sometimes years later they realize that. That's the only bad thing about the internet is it never lets you forget the mistakes you made, like a year ago or 10 years ago, and they'll never let you live it down. I think that's the thing about being you can do better, and there's always people going to try to take you back to who you were versus who you are now. And like, I think you just want to be the change that you want to see, and if you screw up, just admit that you screwed up. I think that's probably that's always a step in the right direction, and apologize and try to move forward. And yeah, that's a tough way to be, man, because living in negativity is the worst thing, man. Like, it's that'll kill your health. We talked about health earlier. Like, if you need any health tips, like I think I'm gonna try to talk Cliff into running a little health tip podcast for creatives. That would be kind of cool.
I actually am kind of down for doing that, but I need an actual health professional to join me. And most of them are like, do my job outside of work hours. Do you know what my life is?
Cliff, man, I can hook you up with Charlotte. Charlotte would do it.
Oh, there we go.
Like you have all these vocations that are hard on the body, but you can always talk about the effects of the body and what you can do. And like, hey, we have these stretches that work well. If you're someone who sits at your desk all day, then this is this and do that. And be sure, like, if you're over this age, get your colon checked out. Because I guess my wife's like, you got to get your colon checked. I was like,
yeah, apparently that's the thing.
I know that's like the last thing that most men.
I don't think anybody wants to get the colon check, man.
I mean,
nobody wants to.
I mean,
we all need to.
Nobody really wants it. I just know that obviously there's a demographic that finds it far more horrible than others. That is a very serious thing. Again, everything is killing men. Let's stop trying to win that race. K-pop is absolutely. If I said this behind the scenes earlier. If you're over 35, you better have a primary care provider and see them twice a year. No time to mess around. Check your heart, your lungs, and I guess in your 40s, prostate. It is not a treat,
Yeah, well, like
if you take me on a good date, but otherwise,
right. Better safe than sorry, right? Better safe than sorry. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, that's for sure.
Absolutely,
for sure. So, all right, well, guys, thanks for having me out. It's been
so much fun,
man. Like, wow, hour and 17 minutes is like, oof, God.
Man, it's been a real honor.
I know.
I'm very grateful to have had you hang out with us tonight. Man, thank you so much. It's
anytime, man, anytime, and much success to the show, man. You've got a great audience who is super engaging, and people like to talk and say, hey, what's up? So hopefully we can do this again maybe next year, and hopefully I'll see you guys at Terrificon or a show. That would be really great. So
I'll be pushing for it.
If I make it to Connecticut, then I'm like, hey, I gotta give Cliff a big hug, man. Like, thanks, man, for getting me here. So
I give great hugs. It'll be great. Yeah. Now I'm gonna work twice as hard. It's gonna be
there. You go. Oh, now awesome. All right, we got to make it happen now. So yes, perfect.
I'm gonna be following Mitch around all weekend in August. I'm like, hey, Mitch. He's
like, what do you want?
What do you want? I'm like, you need to get JonBoy next year. He's like, you keep saying that. I'm not going to stop until you agree.
He's like, okay, leave me alone. That's cool.
Dude, Cliff, thank you so much for being here, man.
Oh,
Cliff, thanks for having my back, bro.
How are you guys going to do the giveaways? Are we do giveaways right now?
I'm going to do the giveaway on Instagram this Friday. For anybody that put in the hashtag Comic Book Addicts, I'll do it live on Instagram this Friday. So anybody that had Comic Book Addicts, still got another minute to put it in if you haven't already. And I'll hop on there this Friday and do the giveaway. Thank you all for showing up tonight. It's been so much fun. Thank you, JonBoy. Thank you, Cliff. I'll be back next Monday. We got Crafty Comics will be in the house. It's going to be another fun show. I hope to see you guys there, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And until then, we'll leave you how we always do with the little Biggie Shack. Later, guys.
I'd say that one is a banger, man. It's a real certified banger, dude.
Hooray.
Whee.